Welcome to the Consulting Leaders Podcast, where we talk about the business of consulting. Whether you're looking to grow your practice or learn from the stories of leaders in consulting, you're in the right place. I'm your host, Guillaume Jouvencel, ex-PwC and co-founder of GHA Marketing. Join me as I interview the best consultants in their niche. Let's get on with the show. Charles, welcome to Consulting Leaders.
It's great to be here.
Let's jump straight into it. What got you into consulting and leadership development, Charles?
Well, a bit of an accident, really. I had worked for a big professional services firm, but I was on the technology side. And then a friend said that they were running a executive coaching, training and leadership development business, and would I come and be their MD? So I said yes, but I said, I know nothing about what you do, so I need to go on the courses so I can be credible when I'm talking to your potential clients. And so that was really the start of my leadership training journey. And from there, I ended up working more and more with senior CEOs and working on a whole range of different opportunities. But that's really where I got started into leadership.
What's the problem that you're solving now?
Well, it's a very different problem now. So there's a lot of conversations about fractional leadership. And what I've been doing over the last 10 years is helping people to transition from full-time, permanent, salaried executive roles to build up a portfolio of part-time leadership roles, taking responsibility for functions in smaller organizations. So the leadership challenge there is radically different because you're only able to engage part-time. You've got to lead through influence, not position and direction. And so helping those people to lead in a radically different way is a really interesting challenge, and I'm relishing it.
What specifically? So that all makes sense. What specific leaders do you help? Like, do you have an industry, company size, niche? Like, who do you end up working with mainly?
Well, in terms of the people I'm working with now, it's across any professional area. My own background is in IT. I did a computer science degree, but now I don't really mind what profession they come from. It's all about their willingness to make this transition to a radically different leadership style.
Okay, so that's kind of where they are in the journey, right? How do you market that then? How do you brand? How do you get the attention of those leaders? First of all, sorry, let me rewind. Are the leaders the ones hiring you, or is it maybe someone else, head of L&D, head of HR? Like, how does it typically work?
Okay, so I'm in executive education. That's my offer. The executives I'm educating are those who want to step into this radical new work style of operating as a portfolio executive. In order to do that, they need not only to bring all their professional skills for, as marketeers or CTOs or finance directors or whatever it is, they also need to learn a whole set of other skills to be effective as a portfolio executive. And part of that is to lead in a very different way the organizations they serve. And part of that is to learn a whole set of new skills because they now become a product. They now become a brand. They need to find a way for other people to buy their services. So for many of them, they've never sold anything in their life before. If you're an experienced finance director or an experienced HR director, you've always been working internally. The people you serve are internal clients. Now you have to step out and find a way for people to buy your services when you're operating as an independent solopreneur, providing this part-time executive leadership in a number of smaller organizations.
So thanks for the clarification here. How do you get those people to reach out to you then, Charles? My question is,
So
when we think about,
there's two sides to this challenge. So
go ahead.
there's the people who want to come and work with me, and then there's the people that I work with need to find clients. So to enable people to come and work with me, my primary platform is LinkedIn. I've got a followership on LinkedIn. I built a brand on LinkedIn. I have a large swathe of articles. And that's how I attract people to my proposition. I do use other social media platforms like Facebook and Instagram and even TikTok. And recently I've taken on a Substack. And I'm very pleased to be a guest on podcasts like yours. But the primary way that people come and find me is through LinkedIn.
Why do you think is that? How come people find out about you and reach out to you on LinkedIn? The reason I'm asking, Charles, is obviously for the consultants listening to us right now, right, who want that inbound flow of leads via LinkedIn. What should they do? Like, how did you manage it, and how do you explain that this is where people go and find you?
Well, unusually, I've been on LinkedIn since about the year 2000. So I've been around a while. And the whole secret is consistency, continuity, having real clarity about what you stand for and what you believe in, and then building from that base to grow a larger and larger audience. So, for example, there was a stage in the development of LinkedIn where they were encouraging people to engage with collaborative articles. And if you did that, then they would register you as a top voice on LinkedIn. So I put in the hard yards and I'm now a top voice on LinkedIn, and that badge is still there. It's about finding out how these platforms work and then consisting in applying yourself to that platform. But the other thing is I have actively managed my metrics. So it's really good every week to see all of my metrics, to see what's going on, what's changing. And then as new features come on LinkedIn, to adopt them, because often if you're an early adopter of new features, then LinkedIn reward you with more audience. But it's changed over the years. It's very, very different from what it was when I first started. And I'm ably assisted by the person who runs my LinkedIn profile for me, who's a very experienced marketeer. And she, interestingly, started out as a teenager as a Facebook and Instagram influencer, getting her free makeup and nights out as an influencer. So she understands this influencing game. And I think really that's what's different. It's now about building authority. It's about being present. It's about having something to say, and then attracting the people you do want to work with and being less palatable to the people who don't. Not many people start their LinkedIn profile with a promise of freedom and joy and talk about the importance of love to motivate you in who you work for and the work you do. So there are lots of people who just think those words are incompatible with a professional attitude to their working life. And I'm delighted they don't want to know me. I focus on the people who care about those things. So there's a bit of, in England, we talk about Marmite, the spread that you either like or you hate. And I think for me, that has served me well to be a little bit distinctive, to be a little bit different in the way I talk about things.
If you had to do it all over again today, which platform would you decide to be an early adopter on, if any, right? But like at the edge that you have, so beyond all the experience and so on, obviously, but you were early on LinkedIn, right? Literally 26 years now. How old is LinkedIn even? If you had to
Well,
redo it all
it's
now,
about 25 years old. So, yeah, I've
no.
been on it fairly since the early days.
Where would you start today if you had to do it all over again?
Well, I think I have to. I think I have to be cognizant of my audience. So, I've got a professional offer, um, and at the moment, LinkedIn is the place where professionals hang out. What is interesting about Substack is that's an increasingly popular platform for long form content. And so I'm starting to build a presence there because I do like long form content. But perhaps the thing that everybody's talking about today is how can I show up on ChatGPT or Gemini or whatever your AI poison of choice is? How do you configure yourself so that you are featured by those chatbots, those large language models, when people are interested in the things that you're talking about? And a friend of mine very kindly sent me my sort of Gemini profile. Somebody had asked Gemini, tell me everything you know about Charles McLachlan or something, and it come up with this really interesting profile. And actually, I was quite pleased. I think I couldn't have put it better myself. So it's just interesting to see that that seems to be the place that people are running to at the moment. And whether it's AI slop that needs to get you to the top of the rankings, or whether there's a slightly more sophisticated strategy, time will tell. I don't think I'm an early adopter generally. I will put my toe in the water and make lots of small experiments. I think the other place where I'm currently underrepresented, and which will change soon, is on YouTube. I think I've been very, very reticent to use video because I'm quite self-conscious. And YouTube obviously is a video first platform. So, yeah, getting me onto YouTube has taken a while. TikTok was probably a good way of breaking the ice. And I was amazed that TikTok is able to find my demographic really, really quickly. They'll give you a regular reports on the age profile, and my target age group is 45 plus. TikTok found that target profile within 2 weeks. I was very, very impressed. So, yeah, not necessarily jumping up and down and rapping or whatever you're meant to do on TikTok these days, but it was interesting to see that that platform does have a place in a social media mix.
You seem to be on top of the new platforms and technology, Charles. I like that. And just to double down on one of the things that you mentioned, I think probably 90% of B2B coaches and consultants overlook the possibilities that there are on TikTok by showing up there, by having the right content. One could think it's a platform just for Gen Z and millennials to share dancing videos. It is, but it is also an application where you have 900 million monthly users, and in them, your avatar is there. They're probably not expecting to consume content the same way they would on LinkedIn, right? Or in their email box, where they are much more open to sales pitch, obviously. But still, they are there. And if you can be top of mind, if you can provide them with some value on those platforms as well, you can win big. That's
I think
marketing.
that's true. But what held me back from TikTok is that there comes a point that if you really want to succeed, you have to put something out, 4 or 5 times a day. You have to go live. It's a major commitment, and I think you end up running a TikTok offer rather than running a business. And for me, this is peripheral.
No, 100%. And
nice to understand how it works, but
yeah. So we got a little cut off here. You with us, Charles?
yes, I'm still here. Yeah,
Awesome.
I'm not out to make a fortune on TikTok.
Fair enough. Talk to me about sales motion. So, how do you go from LinkedIn engagements, people reaching out, the websites, the different platforms that you have, into a sales call, a follow-up call, an SOW, a letter of engagement? We rock and roll. What does sales motion look like for you?
Well, I'm really simple soul, I suppose. And when I'm talking to the people who I'm trying to encourage them to learn how to find clients, I say you just need to create a very simple buyer journey. And at each step in that journey, the buyer needs to know where they are, what their choice is, and whether they want to say yes or no. And so for me, the first step in any kind of conversation with a potential client is a 30-minute call. And I do that on Zoom. It's nice to see them. It's good to see their LinkedIn profile as I talk to them. And at the end of that 30-minute call, there are really two very simple outcomes. Either I can help them or I can't. And if I think I can help them, then I try to make a very straightforward offer. And the offer is, let's start working together on building your portfolio executive work style. We'll have a 90-minute session. And at the end of that session, there's two possible ways forward. Either you decide you don't want to work with me, in which case nothing to pay. It's been great to know you and get to know you a bit better, find out more about what you do. But at the end of that 90 minutes, if you don't want to work with me again, nothing to pay. And I don't see why you should pay for something until you've tried it. But if you want a second session, then I'll ask you to pay for a first session and a second session. So that, for me, feels like a very straightforward buyer journey. Now, sometimes after the end of that 30-minute call, they say, I'd like to think about it. And I say, well, that's absolutely fine. Go and see all the people I've worked with on the Portfolio Executive .biz website, where there's a community of about 100 professionals there. I'll send you a little bit of information to look at, but let's have another call to deal with any questions. And if at that point we're going to proceed, you understand how we do it. And if not, that's fine. So a small proportion of people want that extra 30-minute call. But for me, it's all about leaning back, leaving them at choice, not being a desperate date, as they used to say on the sales training courses I went on, and just saying, this is the offer. You can try it before you buy it. And if you don't want it, that's fine. You know, there's plenty of other people there. And I'm having lots of regular conversations. I enjoy having the conversations. For me, what you call sales motion is just a great opportunity to get to know more people. And so I don't feel that this is a high pressure sales environment. Spoken to somebody this afternoon. I've been introduced to her by a friend of mine who I used to work with. And we had a short call. We were going to have a half-hour call, but a short call. And she said to me, no, I'm sorry, we can't have the full length of call because I've got to deal with a crisis with one of my clients. And by 15, 20 minutes into the call, she said, thank you, Charles. I feel so much more relaxed for some reason. So, and I sent her the details. We'll do that 90-minute try before you buy. But I didn't need to sell her. I just needed to listen hard to what she was saying to me and talk about how I understand those kinds of problems. Because for me, the key is not to be out there offering solutions. The key is to be the expert on the problem. And if you're an expert on the problem, they will believe that you've got the solution. The person you're talking to is the most important person in the room. And the more you can show you understand their problem, the more you're valuing who they are and what they're facing.
Amen to that. I like the progressive, we distribute value, but then as we keep on going, we start billing. That makes a lot of sense. How do you, at the back end of this, Charles, how do you retain? Meaning growth in coaching and consulting firms, right, really happen when you have an acquisition channel, but also a way to retain those customers, not just to keep on billing them, but to be able to keep on providing them value in exchange for money. So can you walk us through the mechanisms that you use to retain and optimize for client retention?
Yeah, it's The thing is, I've seen lots and lots of offers out there. You know, if you're on LinkedIn, if you get emails, if you're a solopreneur, you get approached by all these people who've got these wonderful offers that they want you to, that will transform your life and save your business and deliver, you know, every dream you could possibly have. And typically their modus operandi is, we get you to spend a little bit of money, and then very quickly we get you to sign up to an expensive program, which is going to promise you the earth, and it's 12 months or 6 months, use it or lose it. And they get you to pay this big ticket item, and the salesperson will persuade you that this is so wonderful, it's going to change your life. And very often, the reason they're making money is because they're brilliant salespeople. The delivery that comes behind it is often very, very weak. So I've taken a completely contrarian approach. So I say, the only commitment I ask you to make is to come to the next session. And when you come to the next session, if you've had enough, just tell me and we'll stop. But we will, and I'll be very flexible about our sessions. So at the beginning of the relationship, it may make sense for us to have an hour a week. Then as things develop and you get more confidence, we might have an hour every other week. There's one client that I'm still working with, and we have lunch together for 2 hours once a quarter. And I've retained him, if you want to use that language, you know, for 10 years. But really, you know, it's a relationship. We continue to support one another. It's great to see him. We have a great lunch, but he's still paying me a monthly fee. So I feel that the most powerful way to retain people is to leave them at choice. Rather than signing them up to a program, it's pay as you go. And I used to do this when I was running groups for CEOs. They'd join the group and their relationship with the group was indefinite. They never had to make another buying decision. It didn't change the fee. They come every month. And when they'd had enough, they'd say they had enough. But actually, for as long as they continued to have value, they would come. And when they were ready to leave, I probably, because I'd been doing it for 10 years, I probably knew 2 or 3 months before they made the decision to leave that they were going to say they wanted to go. And therefore, I could prepare the ground so that they could leave gracefully without any break in the relationship. And some of them then came back and asked me to do other things for them. So I just believe retention is about relationship, and it's about offering freedom, and it's just ensuring that each time you spend time with somebody, they value it. They don't feel locked in.
So I want to challenge this a bit because I like it. I feel though there are some offers, right, in coaching, obviously, but consulting, you know, agencies and so on, where just one next session isn't going to allow you to get the results that you may be hiring someone for in the first place. And what do you suggest then? You meet the potential clients, right? A prospect that you know you can help, but this is going to take, I don't know, a 3 month, not a program, but of working together, right? Say every fortnight, 1 hour of coaching, and you know you can help, and they would benefit from this help, and they can afford it. You still go for the, hey, let's do 1 hour, and then another hour, and then another hour.
Well, I think you're slightly misunderstanding this. So I will talk to a client and say, from a budgeting point of view, and it'll depend upon where they're at. But let's give you an example. I'll say, from a budgeting point of view, you need to plan. I would suggest that we work together for at least 6 months. And you probably need to be planning, I don't know, whatever the number is, £1,000 a month, just as an round number. So if we're going to go on this journey together, then be prepared to spend that kind of money. But I'm not asking you to commit a £6,000 invoice now and promise you the world. We'll do it as we go. So yes, we will schedule times in the diary going out monthly, because we want to plan our lives, but we will also have the freedom to vary the frequency and duration of our sessions. So you're getting the most value from the time we spend together. And often once they've got their foundations in place, what they really want is a check-in a couple of times a month to talk about particular opportunities they're pursuing or particular challenges they're having. And so what might have started out as an hour a week moves to perhaps 30 minutes every other week. Now, from my point of view, that's retaining them, if you want to use that kind of language. From their point of view, there's still value. And that does mean that relationships go on for a long time. Sometimes people pause and then they come back 2 or 3 years later. And that's great. You know, they've got themselves to a certain level and then they want me to help them get to the next level. So I'm talking about working with professionals. I'm talking about working with adults. I want to treat them as adults. I want them to be free to make their own decisions. And I want them to decide what works for them. In response, I'll be as flexible as I possibly can be.
We don't have to use retain as a word if that's not the one you want us to use, Charles. Cool. No, that makes sense. I like the approach. Tell me a bit more about. No, so we actually covered. So that's how you market. That's how you partner up, and that's how you engage on the long term. Without basically, you remove all risk for your clients. Right? It's like it's a risk reversal.
Well, they're
like, hey, if you
taking a
don't like
big
it,
they're taking a big risk because they are making a life-changing decision to leave full-time permanent salaried employment and step out into this new work style. So for them, they think they're making a very big risk. They're taking a very big risk. They are engaging in a life-changing process. And so I'm very keen that they've got support of the people at home, very keen that they've thought through their financial runway. I'm very keen they're clear about their goals, because it's a big step for anybody.
talk to me about your number one challenge, Charles. What is the one nut that you're trying to crack right now that you know once you crack, and you cannot answer TikTok, that you know once you crack, you're gonna take the whole thing to the next level? What would that be for you?
I think the thing that I'm very keen to do is create more capacity to serve more people. And one of the things I've recently started, it's been running for about 6 months now, is a group offer where people come and join a group. It's a much lower price point and they learn together with other people in the group. And they get a 1-hour session once a week in that group. And I bring the resources and tools and techniques I've developed over the years to that group. They learn from one another. All the stuff we do together is captured on a learning platform that they can go back and refer to at leisure. And so that's a way of me serving a larger audience, because I believe that there are tens of thousands, perhaps more, of senior professionals who just know that the current way they're working doesn't work for them. And then there's some other things I'm wondering about. You know, are there ways of finding people who will, if you like, become licensees of my offer? Or are there ways of having an app that will enable people to have less contact? So there's a whole set of other things that could take it to the next level. But at the moment, you know, that bespoke one-to-one service, premium service, has been the environment in which I've learned everything about this, apart from living it myself, which has been a great learning curve too. And that's in a sense the R&D environment. You know, as new things start to emerge, as new challenges start to emerge, then that's the place where I discovered them. And one of the things that's made me really sad over the last couple of months is the number of very experienced senior professionals who lost their jobs, made one or two bad decisions, and now they're literally, and I'm not exaggerating, they're living in their cars or they're sofa surfing with friends. That's how precarious it is if you haven't got a plan after corporate life. And I try to avoid talking about the negative, but there are 3 people that I'm actively supporting for whom that's what's happened. And in one way, it's great to have the freedom to be able to work with people who are not going to fail to pay me yet. But on the other side, it's tragic that these people who have dedicated their lives to building other people's businesses are on the scrap heap. And, late 40s, early 50s, absolutely appalling. And I just know that if they'd come to me before this and planned the transition, then they wouldn't be facing the situation they're in. But I also know these are resourceful, powerful people, and with the right encouragement and the right support, they will get out of it. And in fact, one of the guys I was working with, he has got out of that situation. And the second one is on his way. And the third one is just planning, how they're going to pick themselves up and get to the next level. But they say, half of the United States is one paycheck away from the streets, and seeing that reality face to face is really tragic.
And we're not going to get political, but the current events might not help with all this.
To be honest, I'm not going to talk about current events. This is something that's been going on in corporate culture for more than 10 years. It's just when things are less benign, the consequences are greater for people. So this is not new. It's just the consequences are greater for people.
Fair enough. Charles, ladies and gentlemen. Charles, if people want to find out more about you, see what you do, where should they go?
The best place to go is to find me on LinkedIn. But you can also have a look at my website, portfolioexecutive.biz. And that's a great starting point to explore this exciting world where you can become an independent, self-governing individual and typically replace your existing income with just 12 fee-earning days a month. What's not to like?
That is a very good promise. Charles, we'll put all the links in the description. For what I'm concerned, I can say one thing for sure is that you've gained at least one new connection on LinkedIn out of this. Me, I just added you. LinkedIn top voice, just watch out for it. And thank you so much for coming on Consulting Leaders.
Fascinating to be with you. And I'm delighted to have an opportunity to share your audience.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of the Consulting Leaders Podcast. We hope you learned valuable lessons on how to grow your practice and take your business to the next level. Make sure to subscribe and leave us a review wherever you're listening to this show so you never miss an episode. To apply and be a guest on the show, click the link in the description. See you next time.
How was